Hello, hello, and welcome to another fasting update. The final one of our 10-day fast. My name is DJ Eshelman. If for some reason you can't read, I can't point and look at the same time. It's over there. Good to be with you here today. This is the final day of fasting. Officially, the fast will end at sundown tonight for those that have been participating in our specific 10-day fast. And so I wanted to kind of go back through and review some insights that I've had so far. This is an ongoing process, obviously, but I wanted to review that, and then if you're here with me live, I'd answer any questions you have. But for the time being, um, quick description of where I'm at from the food standpoint. So I get a lot of questions about that. So obviously lots of water. Actually, I just came out of a meeting, and then just before that, I was recording some course content. So actually, I'm actually kind of parched. I just realized. So I apologize for that in advance. But if you're just joining me for the first time or whatever today, the fast that I went on for 10 days focused on being water only. And this is just my personal fast. A lot of people did other things. My wife did a focus on juice. Some other people have just given up very specific things. And it varies from people to person, and there's no right or wrong way to fast, really. Suppose eating more probably would not be a good way to fast, but I digress. So anyway, for 7 of those days, I was water only, but knowing myself, and I got to tell you right now, I know, why I did this. It's as far as that transition period, very important to have a couple of days to get back into the swing of eating the real foods after being water only. And I'm glad I did that. Actually, had something today that we well, it didn't really fit with an overall sense of fasting, except for that it was a vegetable pizza. But I'll be honest with you, it kind of had just a duh moment. Like one of the last bites of the pizza, I'm like, I just ate a bunch of cheese. Should I have done that? The answer is no. I shouldn't have. Between that and the sauce on the pizza, I'm actually a little bit dis disgruntled down there today. And so, but anyway, that's again, I've talked in the past about raising your level of discomfort, you know, at a slow pace and getting yourself up to that point. And so, I guess you could say that this is getting me ready for in 2 hours when we head to our church, where our whole church is celebrating the end of the fast, and there'll be, I'm sure, food and revelry. Actually, I think it's going to be mostly soup and salad, and I think maybe burgers. I think, but we'll see how much of that I get into. But in any sense, from a food perspective, things are going well. I do have a little bit of a headache and that sort of thing, but that is interesting that I add food back in and all of a sudden start having headaches again. I guess my body just hates food. I'm kidding. Uh, I'm trying to remember the exact saying. It was like, you know, food is fuel. Attitude is energy, or something along those lines. Whatever. Anyway, I thought I'd take a few minutes and talk about some of the things that I've come to realize during my time of fasting, some of which that I'm willing to talk about publicly, and others that I'll just kind of touch on very lightly because they are still very private thoughts, or either from a business perspective, very developmental, or they are things that I need to keep private in general. So with that, uh, a couple of things. I actually spent more time in Ecclesiastes than I did in Proverbs, which was unexpected for me. But when those kind of turns happen, sometimes you just gotta roll with it. And so I actually spent a bit of time noticing some things. And so if you missed yesterday's broadcast, go back and view, you know, that ninth day episode. There's a lot that I dive into as far as the things I've realized about Ecclesiastes. And I apologize. There's another bubble. Goodness gracious. We are getting ready. But there's a lot about our attitudes about money and about success and about work and about how we should be enjoying the fruit of our labor that I'm finding that the church doesn't teach today. And I'm actually somewhat disturbed by what I've read. I'll be honest with you. I think that there's a disservice that's being paid in the American church per se. I can't speak to other countries and their churches. I just can't. But it's something that I've noticed is that there is a almost like an attitude like you're supposed to just go to work and just you're just supposed to work, just work. It's just work because you're working for you're working for Jesus. You know, sorry if that offends anyone. Actually, whatever. But the thing is, that's that kind of attitude that you're simplifying something that you spend, let's be honest, a majority of your life doing, distilling it down into something that's basically suffering and toil. Okay, Ecclesiastes dives into that and says, if that's what it's going to be, then what does that look like? You should enjoy what you have, or what you should make sure to set aside enjoyment of life. Otherwise, then life becomes toil, not just your work. It also goes on to say that finding work you love is important. And that really lit a fire with me that the direction that I'm heading is truly my direction. And I had a night 2 nights ago where that really I had to wrestle with that a bit in terms of why is it so hard to leave what I have been building? In a way, I would say that it is not that I have to leave it, that I have to stop trying everything. Every week I come up with new schemes and new things to do, and I don't do the things that really I know already make sense. And it tells me a couple things about myself that I need to look and learn and listen to. And the beauty about this is that these are lessons that I can then help others with because I've now identified the kind of things that are going wrong. And that's important. It's important to not just keep things locked up to yourself. And, when you've discovered something that big, that there's not a lot of people teaching that. There's not a lot of people that are facilitating discussions on all the businesses you shouldn't be doing. There's not a lot of people facilitating discussions on, you know, all the awesome digital entrepreneurial launches that you shouldn't be participating in. There's a fear of that. So this is where I'm heading is into a time frame of doing just that. The funny thing is that there's a little bit of backing from a very light, very brief conversation that I had with a certain very well-known influencer. I won't gonna mention names here, but they have a course. Their launch is actually coming up here in a few months. That very well known, very very good stuff. But their biggest frustration is that people get midway through their course and go do something else. They give up. Or worse to them is that one of their friends does a launch and they're then like, oh, should I encourage people to do this or not? It's a weird dynamic, but the honest truth is, what hurts about that is they know that if somebody goes into some other thing, that's going to become their focus. They don't may not have the same name for it, but they're very much aware of the squirrelpreneur syndrome that I identify. So I personally think that a a group of people that are focused on only doing new things when it's the appropriate time will be attractive. Um, and that's good. I don't really see that necessarily as a long-term strategy though. And so what's come to mind with this is that that should be something that I do every now and then. Um, what 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 I'm kind of workshopping right now, just to be transparent, is a more like a 90-day workshop for people that are in the digital entrepreneur space to just choose a single strategy. So the first part of this would be to cover all the different oh, pardon me, oh my goodness, all the different options that are out there and choose one. Or if they already have something going on, to choose that one thing and rid their inboxes and everything else of anything other than that one thing and not allow themselves to be distracted. And again, like I talk about that being prepared, that level of preparedness, that's what this would be all about. So that's one thing. That would also end up being a core tenet into what I'm looking at as a membership site or a program for right now, specifically towards Christian digital entrepreneurs that are focused on using what they know to help people towards a specific transformation. If that's specific enough, I can probably get more specific down the road, but that's kind of where I'm at as far as the target market, I guess I would say, of those people, and saying, okay, let's help them towards a system. And I call that the 11 talent system. And I've described this previously about a progression of going from being the one talent slave on to the two talent servant and getting yourself to the point of being the five talent steward that expands to 10 and then takes on responsibility for more. That's the mindset, and so that's the progression that's there in that group. And so there's various ways it's probably going to look, and this is it's a scary thing to develop because frankly, it's not like I'm speaking from a position of absolute authority, but my passion is strong here. This is something where I truly feel that there's a need out there for this, and that people are wanting something to keep them accountable in their business. To kind of, it's weird how we're needing a system to counteract these other things at this point, but I think that's exactly what is needed. And so that is the thing. So focusing on one thing at a time going to be a core tenet of this group. But the other thing that I've come to the conclusion on is that I really do enjoy coaching people, and I'm not just talking about just entrepreneurs. I'm just talking about just people. Yeah, life coaching, if you want to call it that. I call it transformational coaching. And so during this next few months, I'm going to have a ever increasing focus on that of having people that I'm coaching on a regular basis, people that I'm coaching through a mastermind experience, whatever that looks like. That is going to be another focus of mine. So that has been uh, very clear. And the astute among you will notice that there's some things that I didn't say I was going to be doing. And I'm going to leave that for now and not be discussing that here. But down the road, we'll have those discussions. But that has become very clear in my meditations and just kind of putting that in front of God and saying, okay, if this is the wrong thing, make this completely uncomfortable for me. Sorry, uncomfortable is the wrong way. That's not what even what I said. Make this feel wrong is what I said. And point me towards scripture that says that sort of thing. And so it's a reveal that sort of thing. Reveal your will through that. And so having that initial step of faith is where I'm at. So this all makes perfect sense, right? Well, here's the problem with things making perfect sense is that making sense is one thing, doing action is another. And this is where the struggle tends to be with me. Coming down the mountaintop off of a experience like doing a fast or something like that is it's easy to get overwhelmed once you put yourself back into the full energy swing of things, and it's very common to get things lost. I said in an earlier video that one of the things I noticed in going through my notes from the previous years, and I've still got a stack on my desk of things that I'm going through and just kind of pulling out little nuggets here and there of things that are going to matter going forward. And what I've noticed is that I've had a lot of good ideas before. And in fact, during a period of fasting, I had a lot of things written down that I had full action plans on that somehow got completely ignored. The tyranny of the urgent, the fear of various things kept me from moving forward with a lot of these things, and that was a tragic thing. And so again, living in preparedness for something like that, knowing that these things that I'm saying right now are going to be quick to be under attack. Once I've come out from this shield of fasting and focus, that this will be under attack for me. And so that is something that I have to be very much aware of. So yeah, that's a challenge. So the thing I would say about that for me is that um, there's a lot of things in that too. That there's a lot of this some recurring themes that I brought up a lot lately, and that I bring up a lot lately. That ultimately I think have uh, some legs in terms of being like a signature talk in terms of that sort of thing. I've actually been intending to turn this into like a TEDx talk, and I do think that this might be the year that I can move forward with that. Last year, through that organization into disarray with people not being able to attend events, that is now coming back online, and so we're gonna see what that looks like. That could mean either that it's going to take a long time to get approved for one, or it could just be that I apply for one and boom, it's going. So, but anyway, that is a topic that I do want to share more about and have a framework around that, I guess you say, of saying, here's my experiences and have a happy day. Uh, because that's really the idea with that is just to share big ideas, not necessarily full solutions. And so there's that. But as far as the full solution part of that, that's where things like a book would come into play. And so I do have on my board, uh, you know, getting all these thoughts into a book at some point. But there's certain things that have to be going well for that to be a reality. And so that's the next piece of this is to make sure that those other things are focused and done, which is going to take a different way of doing my life. And so there's some things that I'm going to be changing about my daily routines, I guess you could say. I've never liked routines. I never have. I've always been rebellious towards the routines. That's what made me good as a consultant. That I could very easily be in one city one week and another city another week. I didn't feel a need to have the routine. In fact, I feel better without it sometimes. But the reality is to be productive to get to this next level, That's exactly what I'm gonna have to do, and so I'm doubling down my focus on that sort of thing, and so that's another thing that's boy, ugh, I apologize. Wow, sorry about that. That's another thing that I'm really quite front of mind about is that, there's some last year had some big things, some big accomplishments. This year also has some really big things and some big accomplishments. But hey, if you're joining me live and you have any questions, feel free to chat those to me. Sorry, that was a weird noise that I think my Echo device just made. Apologize. I don't know if you probably didn't hear that, but it was just a weird noise. But anyway, um, if you have any questions, let me know. But I think some other things that I'm looking at here is that there are some there's some unfinished business that I need to decide whether I'm going to actually finish it or not, and or there's some things that people have paid me for, and so that's not a negotiable. That's going to be finished. There's other things like there's a stack of books. You see some here in my office. There's a whole stack in my garage that I don't want them to live in my garage forever. There's not, that's information that's just not given out to people. So my goal is to find someone or a group of people, whatever that looks like, to market that, to do that work of actually getting that out to the masses, so that I'm not having to be the sole source of that. So that is another goal for the year. So that's a lot of fun. Um, but yeah, I think from a business perspective, that's where I'm at. Now, spiritually, I'll confess that one of my big problems is not really spending enough time in study. And so that is another thing that I am really trying to figure out what's going to actually work for me. Mostly I say that because I don't I've gotten to like not having an alarm, of just getting up whenever I feel like I'm ready to get up. And I'm coming to the realization that I need to get back to the point of having an alarm and reprogram my body towards getting up at a certain time. The funny thing about that is we kind of do have an alarm. We have this cat food feeder that goes off at about 7 o'clock in the morning. And the cat food feeder not only makes noise on its own, but has this weird feature where we programmed our voices, and so it calls out to the cats in our voices. So it does that over and over again, like 3 times over, at 7 o'clock in the morning. So it's like having this your own voice as a rooster calling out your cat's name, and I just need to get in the habit of getting up at that. So if there's anything I can ask for accountability for, it's that. But also, let me go grab this real quick. Goodness, got caught on the wheel there. There's a book I've been going through. This book has a bunch of prayers, and this is the First Hour for Men by Mark Coate. Uh, Good guy. Actually, know Mark. He lives here in Franklin now. He moved here um, largely to continue the work of this project and the project associated with it. But there are meditations and there's a whole series of prayers to go through daily in here, and so that's been, yeah, I wouldn't say a habit of mine, but it is something that I've been doing a lot of, and so I want to get that into an actual habit. So it's if you look at a lot of the uh, gurus out there that have things to do, like um, I love and respect Hal Elrod, the Miracle Morning, great project, great book. Um, Michael Hyatt, tons of others. They all talk about having a morning routine and having some intentionality in your morning. Well, that's one thing that has slipped for me in the last, I would say, 3 months. and maybe even the last 2 months, but it has slipped for me, and so that's something that I'm intending to get a lot better about, is to spend more time in the Word, spend more time in prayer, spend time, with some exercise. So that's another thing I've not been doing. I actually could not tell you the last time I truly exercised. So that's something I need to do. Not necessarily to like get back in shape, which would be great, but also just to kind of have that as part of the the routine every day to to shake the body up a bit and relieve some of that stress is going to be that. But generally speaking, that's where I'm at. So yeah, this has been a good experience overall. I think I never know what to expect. I never know. There's been some times I've been fasting, and there's just been radical transformations. There's other times I've been fasting, and I'm in like, so that was it. I was expecting something here. Wasn't specific about what I was expecting, but I was expecting something here. Other times that I like this, where I was expecting some sort of. Sometimes you just expect an emotional revelation, and that didn't happen. I never really had a lot of emotion throughout this whole entire 10 days, to be honest with you. And unfortunately, I think some of the things I've been doing during this are probably a part of that. But at the same time, I've had actual extremes in my fasting where I didn't have anything near the experience that I thought I was going to have. But staying faithful to a fast, even though you're not getting out of it what you thought you would, realizing that it's not about you necessarily. It's about you being obedient. It's about you being committed, that sort of thing. In 2018, I would say it's a very similar kind of thing where I was in a small amount of crisis trying to figure out what to do when I grew up, and very similar to right now. And yeah, very much had to have that moment of, well, okay. So I got to the end of the fast, and I didn't feel like I had any answers. And I can't remember on which video I told this story, but I did tell this story where what ended up happening was the couple days after the fast, we got approved for a loan. We got the sense that we should go get a house, which is crazy because I was unemployed. I didn't have an employer and things like that. And so, but just got the sense that, it would be okay. And you know what it was. And so sometimes the miracle, the revelation, things like that happen after the fast. And I wish I could bring up which day that was to point you back to that video, because there's a great story behind that, and a great miracle that happened, and everything about, like, there was like an entire day of just overwhelming amounts of miracles and things that just don't make any sense to most people. It's just not normal, not even by a long shot normal. And so, but they're very emotional that day. And so it was like experiencing after the fact all of my what I expected during the fast. I got, several days, or like it might have even been a week or two later. So it I never want to assume that it's over. Sometimes the the revelations might come when you need them, not when you think you want them. That's the way this works. So in any case, I do appreciate your attention and time today. And I'm going to hang out for another minute and make sure there's nobody that has any questions or comments. But honestly, I do appreciate you being here with me. And again, if there's anything I can do for you, feel free to reach out. I don't want to say anything I can do for you. Hey, DJ, can you change my oil? I could, but I'm not going to. Uh, but if there is a conversation you want to have specifically, as if there's something that's been awoken in you that you feel you have questions on, you want to help exploring that, feel free to reach out, and I will set up a time for us to sit down and have a conversation about that. So absolutely always want to offer that. But anyway, this is going to be the last video for the fasting period as the sun is going down now. I'm actually going to go ahead and just say, actually, I think the sun is technically down where I live now. So the fast is over. That was the least enthusiastic thing I've done all day. It's over. But it is. So yeah, we're done with the that phase of things. But I do appreciate your time, and I hope that you have a wonderful and blessed day and time. And if you want me to continue doing these live messages, let me know. I seem to have some time available occasionally every day. It's not that big of a deal, I'm finding, to go ahead and just jump on and just have a conversation with you. So I'm happy to do it. But if nobody cares, then there's less reasons to do it. But if it's something you do care about, then by all means let me know and we'll keep it going. But until next time, have a great and blessed day and try and leave this world a little bit better than you found it today, huh?